Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of EverQuest 2 News. I'm your host Antizark, and here are today's top stories. Our top stories today are the Caledon server, Drunder, and more. Tips and tricks, upcoming events, ongoing events, and server updates. There's big news on the Caledon server as the great fortress of Drunder has revealed its true purpose and has now opened its gates. The War of the Zek has begun and the portal to new raids have appeared. Seek out glory and loot in these classic zones. Also, the scaling zones Sabron's Palace and the Silent City, the Delving Dead, have opened. Here at EQ2 News, we want to let you know about everything that you can do in EverQuest 2. So here are a few tips and tricks you might want to know. An old item called the rose-colored goggles are getting new use in the Toil and Trouble dungeons, allowing players to more easily see the artifacts and items for the weekly and daily quests in the zone. They will also allow you to more easily spot the fake mimic boxes and destroy them. The items will appear in the zone in the same order that they appear on your quest log. The first item or artifact will be in the first two H-shaped zones. The second artifact will be in the two round rooms, and the last artifact will always be in the final room. None of them will be in the last boss's room. Our last tip is to more easily clear out the witch's room. Once you kill all four of the smaller witches around the center, the last witch will spawn, clearing the room. Upcoming events include the Neriac City Festival, September 1st through the 8th. Moonlight Enchantment Festival happens September 20th through the 22nd. And the Panda quest will start later this fall. Ongoing events include Destiny of VELIOUS crates. Make sure to get yours while they last. The Destiny of VELIOUS Hunters Rewards has been fixed. It now integrates the correct stat levels. The following items now grant ability doublecast instead of spell doublecast. Some of these items include the Blood Seal of Damage and different kinds of Auras of Death. Many adornments have been updated to give ability doublecast instead of spell doublecast at 1/3 the rate. These items now break down into the proper materials when transmuted. The item Mines of Meldraft now stacks. Thug's Pummeling Hauberk has now been adjusted, but the notes don't say how. A few item pictures have now been updated for the Partisan's Hammered Helmet and the Blade Speaker and Doomwing's Knuckles of Force. The Enduring Lupine Hauberk now appears as a chain shirt. The artifact version of the Mounted Shreya Scale Earring is now included in the Link's Shadows item set. The Coldborn Everporter now goes to the Loping Plains. It'll put you right in front of the dungeon entrance. A bug has been fixed that prevented Mysteries of Light working on certain characters. The Bone Clasp Girdle now triggers off of auto attacks that deal physical damage. A bug has been fixed that capped the Runes of Tainted Blade at 35 fervor. Certain Destiny of VELIOUS items now have 2 yellow adornment slots. The item appearance of the Adamantine Katana has now been fixed and should show up correctly. The text has been updated on the Heart of Luckland to more accurately represent how you gain updates. Discordant Babel will no longer list a duration as it does not have a persistent effect. Toil and Trouble weapons now have correct damage numbers and have been brought on par with everything else in Reign of Shadows. Some merchants were selling no-value items for 5,000 plat. This has been fixed. Iron Gall ink has been renamed to Oak Gall ink in the Vasty Deep collection. The house item Pile of Fort of Scrolls now has a new icon to not be confused with status scrolls. The health on destructible statues has been reduced in the Drunder zones. Vasty Deep missions now reward Cabal coin. Combat mitigation buffs removed from Destiny of VELIOUS base pop encounters. Envoy Tammy Swifthammer has reduced some of her prices in New Hallis. Double Treasure loot event on for Lord Doljoni Jeremy Mornar. In the Savage Wheel Chaotic Caverns, the brutal bloodbath should now enter combat in a more appropriate time. In the Vasty Deep Toil and Trouble, Liches no longer drop sulfuric rags. Victor Vodlike now teleports up to the ledge instead of riding his broom. The final boss in VD Solo now requires you to get the correct incubation buff before you can do damage. The Abandoned Lobotomason's Wrath of the Math now reduces potency instead of crit bonus. And in Heroic 2, it will not apply multiple damage reduction buffs. The Groska Vodlak Curse won't choose an invalid original number. In VD Heroic 1 and 2, you can now dispel more recoil if someone died while moving the cauldron. In VD Solo, the Golem and Crawler Queens are now immune to indirect AoE. Also in the VD Solo, the daily missions will now be granted on entry to the zone. Vexthal Beyond the Veil Challenge Raid, encounters will not fully heal when they aren't supposed to. Also, the Vodin Shadow Striker and Scrapper can now be killed after their master has been slain. Emperor Shreya will no longer dismount players when his death event has started. In Vexthal Edge of Ascuris challenge, Hunga will no longer disarm ranged weapons against rangers, and Hanaga's static events will occur less often. Hanaga's lashes no longer apply the Furious Fangs detriment, and the Moonlight in the Shadows will drop 100% of the time, every time. And it's a nice belt. Escalation of War in the Greater Warlord's HP has been reduced by 40%. The automation of Escalation's HP has been reduced by 50%. The Daiku Warmonger's HP has been reduced by 20%, and the Phantasmal Remnant's HP has been reduced by 50%. The house item preview has been modified to fit various items more reliably. Also, the zoom speed has been increased. The City of Mist and the Doggar's Home Builders Kit recipes have been updated to use level 40 resources. This makes them more friendly to players on the TLE server. Chitter has reduced the prices for quest items to a more reasonable rate. Des Glacier Well now sells glue substance for a more appropriate price in the She's a Little Dingy quest. In Lazin's Quenching Oil, the Talk Oil now sells for a more appropriate price. Mercenaries will no longer lose the Grace of Norath buff when zoning into Reign of Shadows solo zones. Destructive Mind and Lethal Focus will no longer trigger progress on a heroic opportunity. Infusive's Wrath damage has been reduced in PvP. Increase the damage of Frozen Waters and Grave Decay by 15% for pets above level 117. AA abilities will apply their effective level instead of the actual level of the character. Quests from Chaos Descending, Blood of Lucklin, and Reign of Shadows expansions will now export to Census. The bug that caused players to look up and to the right has now been fixed. You can now claim Terrors of the Lumber collector's items on TLE. Membership claimed heritage crates will now auto-unpack. Daily Hunter Slayer missions can now be updated from Kingdom of Sky overland zones. Also, the number of kills for updating the Hunter Slayer quest has been lowered. And you can also do all 3 daily PvP missions at once. Flynn's items have now been updated to require level 90 to equip. Also, players will get AAs once DOV mid content is complete. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, or follow if you enjoy the content. Also, here's some other videos you might find interesting. If you'd like to support my work, please consider donating, buying some merchandise, or join Patreon. Thanks.